ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special Dynamic Duo. My name is Travis. Now, I guess the reason it's special is because it's the first one of 2020. And it's the first one, but I'm alone because Kyle Smith is in Australia. He's being evacuated everywhere. So shout out to everyone in Australia. We have some listeners out there, so I hope everyone's staying out there safe. Liam was supposed to, but he's very busy. So I've always wondered, I'm like, what do I call a dynamic duo when it's just myself? And it can be myself, and you, the listeners, are also my partner. Because today, there's just so much good stuff we want to talk about. But before we do that, just go in the past. Check out everything we have down below in the video and audio feeds. You can get all the links there, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify, and then the newest one is Spreaker. We're on Spreaker now. We're moving away from SoundCloud, so check that out. Help us out. If you're on there, please follow us, rate us, review, everything like that. We need your help. If you go look in the Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, we got the whole 2020 schedule slate. There will be a podcast I think I'll be putting out here soon because we never got to record together. We got lots of great stuff out there. The decade preview or the decade wrap-ups for games and movies, the Golden Geeks. Go check out because the Golden Geeks Decades one's voting's happening right now. And we're going to talk about a little bit of the Oscars today. And our Oscars, our Golden Geeks, what we consider the best of the best, is dropping this Friday. You can get it Patreon early right now for $1, but if not, and ad free. That's the other thing on Patreon, $1 free. $1 free. Woof. Get it for $1 ad free, and you get everything we have on there. You get some stuff early, and then also in the new year, I want to jump on. We are in the new year. My goodness, I'm on a roll. Is 2020. The very first commentary track, exclusive Patreon, $5 tier, is going to be the Suicide Squad review, or Suicide Squad commentary track. It's going to be lots of fun. We're doing that in honor of Birds of Prey, which is very quick, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned because we'll be dropping a nice, juicy review like we did for Endgame and Skywalker and everything like that. So, but the Suicide Squad Patreon commentary track, that's going to be really good, and that's just exclusive. Lots of other stuff goes on Patreon early, ad-free. This is up there. $5 is on Patreon for at least a year before that ever goes live. If it ever goes live, you never know. But until then, we got some good stuff to talk about today. Like I said, Friday's the newscast, Friday's the Golden Geeks. This is like a mini newscast. I'm covering some stuff for the geeks. What else is there? Star Wars retrospective. Star Wars Clone Wars is season 7 is coming out this February. So February 17th, I believe the date is. So we are really close. We're jumping into season 5 for the retro right now. We're really close. So jump on board right now because we're reviewing all those last episodes. I've not seen any of them, so it's kind of fun. Taylor's a big canon junkie. He knows everything. It's the first time for me, so if it's first time, jump on. If you love canon, jump on. You got something for everything, but we're going to be reviewing all those episodes on Disney+. I think that's it. Just go on the description below. Please like, rate, subscribe, whether on YouTube or the audio feeds. It helps us out a bunch. Patreon helps us out even more so we can expand. We got big plans for 2020, and we need your help as always. Just like you guys support us in 2019, it's nuts. We got some possible new opportunities. Well, don't want to spoil, but that's all because you guys. So when you guys support us, you legitimately make a difference. Someone's like, oh, please, it really helps. It does legitimately help us. You keep the lights on. You see? New lights. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. I think we're just going to be talking about Morbius and Joker because those are like the two big topics. I don't think I thought there's maybe one more, but I don't think so. It might pop up, but let's start with, oh boy. Let's start with Morbius. So Morbius, I said let's start with Morbius. I have no idea. So Morbius, Spider-Man spin-off character, right? And excuse me, I got a cold, so if you hear why I'm, or I take a drink every once in a while. Don't give me some 1-star review. I'm sick. I'm trying my best here. Morbius, just like Michael Morbius is sick in this trailer. Oh, boy. So, where to begin? How do I feel? So, obviously, a few months ago, we had the whole Spider-Man breakdown of he's back with Sony, no more MCU, and then, excuse me, and then he's partnered with MCU, but Sony and Marvel have some deals, and even Feige put out some weird statement of, like, not only is Spider-Man blah, 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 but he's also has power, like the power to cross universes. And it's like, what does that mean necessarily? And today we got our answer. So first, just the trailer before we get into the juicy what's going on with the MCU and Morbius and the Sonyverse and what all these kind of spinning plates are going on with Feige and Sony and everyone involved. Tom Holland, now Jared Leto, the former Joker. Oh, boy. So the trailer, I will say I liked aspects of it. I'll say I liked it. And the aspects I did like was, first of all, just the music. I love that they took a classical piece of music and gave it like this kind of Transylvania horror, very operatic scary kind of like Bram Stoker Dracula vibe. So I really dug that, and also just around the whole trailer, it felt horrorish. It felt, and this is what I wanted from the movie. I don't think we're going to necessarily get that because at times the trailer looked generic, but kind of what I want with Venom that we didn't really get is like a full-on body horror, like what's happening to me. And I know that can be a super generic genre. We've seen that done many times in superhero movies or horror movies, but still, in superhero movies, it's jumped over pretty quickly. It's like, what's happening? They're like, oh, I got powers. Oh, I'm depressed. This would be literally like, I always kind of pitched it like The Fly. Do a man turning into a vampire and literally dealing with the consequences of that. The trailer looks like it gets pretty action-y and pretty like, you know, I have to stop these people. So that's where it's like, okay, I think maybe the first half or like one act of the movie is going to be the body horror-ish. But the stuff that they were showing, I liked the horror kind of scary aspects of it. So that was good. That was good. And here's the third thing. And everyone, if you're a long-time viewer, if you've been with me for a while, the Geekverse for a while, and this is why we're doing the Suicide Squad commentary track, go look at our preview. We did a flashback to 4 years ago, and my most vehement, like, hated review was when we did Suicide Squad, because I was so disappointed in that movie, but I was so disappointed in Jared Leto's Joker. I cannot stand that Joker. I think it is an abysmal performance. But Jared Leto has talent, even though I don't think he should have won that Oscar against Fassbender. He has talent, and I think he looked right for this role. Sometimes Jared Leto, when he's playing a role, I think there's always a difference, and that's why with Jared Leto, I am a fan of his as far as an actor goes, but there's something like when you talk about these method actors, right? Daniel Day, you know, he's kind of weird. He'll go cobble some shoes and do this, or he'll be the president for a few weeks. But when I see him on screen, I do believe it's that character, and I do believe in the method acting. Where Jared Leto at times, it feels trying to be method. I'm doing all these things so people know I'm method and I'm in character. And maybe that's a work for him. What am I saying? I'm a guy in his spare bedroom while he has an Oscar somewhere and he's doing great. And he's almost 50 and he looks like a goddamn 30-year-old supermodel. Jared Leto, I think, is perfect for this role, and I think I've always said that because Jared Leto is kind of like a different type of guy, and Michael Morbius, a man who is sick and turns into a vampire, is a different type of guy. And sometimes when I've seen Jared Leto in roles, I go, I can't displace, this is Jared Leto, or this is Jared Leto trying too hard. I felt that with the Joker. Blade Runner, I did not feel that. And again, this is just a trailer, but that's what I felt with this again, that he was not doing this. This felt like a, you know, Michael Morbius is not the flashiest, most entertaining character, but he has something to him. He has a type of edge, a little darkness, and Jared Leto, I thought, brought the right amount. When he's playing the sickness levels in the trailer, it didn't look like too much. Didn't like, oh god, like, so I think he's good for the role. And I didn't really have much worry, but you know, I've had bad experience with him in the past. But then the trailer it looks very generic. It looks very much like Venom, where that's what I was kind of hoping. Like I said, a body horror-esque sort of movie and dealing with that. But this looks very much like Venom. Something's wrong with me. Something's going on. I can't figure out. There's people after me, and it turns into big B-level action movie. And that's not a terrible thing. Venom, I remember enjoying the first time. I've always said this, and then every time I've seen it after, it loses its appeal. It does not hold up. It is B-movie in the worst ways. The story is bad. Villains are bad. And I think I got the face of reality. It just slapped me, or reality slapped me in the face, more or less, when I watched the whole movie, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time because it was just a weird, like I said, kind of cheesy B-movie, but that's what they're going for, which I don't think this movie's going for that, so that's why I think it could be less fun, even though Venom, the trailers did not look like they were going for that. And then when you sat down, you're like, this is a weird, kooky, with strange humor type of movie. When the whole movie happened, I was enjoying it, and then at the end credits, you got Woody Harrelson as Carnage, and I just went, oh, when they were trying to be serious and go for that scary, you know, very dramatic, this is Carnage, it's going to be a big showdown, and it just didn't work, and I didn't feel it, and that's where I went, I don't want Tom Holland in this universe, which we're about to talk about. That's what I worry with this movie, people, the trailer I liked, but people are right when I've seen it feels 2003. It feels like the Daredevil, you know, or Ben Affleck version, so I'm very uneasy on this trailer. I can say I like it, but that's also because my expectations are just very low. Very, very low for this movie. I'm hoping to like it more than Venom, but I'm expecting that bar because I don't really trust Sony with live action recently because I I was somebody that I still think they could have made a great Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, but at the end of the day, if I have to place my chips down, I'm always going to place them on Feige. And recently, we've gotten what? We got, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Venom. And it's tough. That's not a great track record for me. And I guess even throwing Spider-Man 3 way, way back, that works too, talking about Venom. So I would like this to be even just a nice solid 7 out of 10, but I worry that this movie is not going to be good. I think it's going to be kind of like Venom. Could be worse because, like I said, less cheesy humor. I think the movie's going to, I don't want to say bomb, but not do very well. It's coming out in the summer, which I don't think is a good call because... that's a tough thing, right? Because Venom's coming out in October. I think I've kind of suggested the past little while that Venom should have maybe came out in February and then Morbius in November or October-ish, or maybe switch the two. I just think in the summer it's going to get Aiden alive. And I know we've talked about this many times in the podcast that even for games, it's all year round, right? But there's still this level of type of movies that are releasing in summer. And one, it's like a lot of movies, but two, it's just the fact that I appreciate they're going for the horrorness, but unless like The Conjuring, popular summer movie, it has to hit like that, and that's why I don't think The Conjuring or any summer horror movie that's come up been a massive hit. It hits that 1-2 punch of being a fun time in the movies, but also being something a bit more weighty, as something a bit more like Conjuring, like people like myself consider one of the greatest horror movies of all time. I consider the best of the decade. So I think it really stood out being this is a great horror movie, so you got to go see it. I don't think Morbius is going to be a great movie. So that's why I think you got to go for the play of going for a little more down season or a little more with the vibe, a little more dark, a little more when the night's coming out, the moon's out. In the dead of summer, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right release date. And that's why we can transition into the MCU portion because this is why I'm worried that they're worried. Obviously, it's a big thing to do, but this trailer is loaded. I shouldn't say loaded. It's only like 2 things, but still, it has 2 massive things to connect to the Spider-Man universe. And I will say, you know what? They didn't show Morbius's look a lot. We obviously saw that leak a few days ago. Check out the Geekverse Facebook for me always and Taylor keeping everyone updated. But we saw that leaked. It came out looking great in HD. I loved the look. But I'm also reminded of when I saw the first Venom trailer. I went, man, he looks great. And unfortunately, the movie didn't look great. So that look of his can't get me excited yet, but it gives me at least hope that it's going to be good. Like, at least he looks good. That's all I can say. That was my problem, too, with Black Mask before, and like, oh, he might not have the mask. It's like, this movie might suck, but just give him his costume, So, applaud there. I still do think that they might, I don't even think I've said this on air, I think they might do a Hulk Bruce Banner situation where he is Morbius like that, but maybe he turns in and out of it. I don't want that, but Jared Leto's a star. He's a good looking guy. So, and budgetary things. So I could see that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of my guess. But to go to the MCU portion, like I was saying, why I'm a little worried for this movie and why I'm worried that they're worried is they showed 2 things that are big and actually, I'll say 3 things. And 3 things that are, I get why they're doing it, but me and Taylor are talking about this. Man, it just feels a little shady. And it's a business. It's movies. It's not a big deal. We're going to talk about the Oscars. It's just fun in like film where like, that's a little shady. The first one is having the credits or the trailer go from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man and Venom. That's true. You did. But it's kind of like if I owned a house and then I had someone come, I had Taylor come in and paint it. And then someone else came over and I said, yeah, this is the house that I created. And it's like, technically you did. Let's say I got people to build it from the ground up. Maybe that's a better equation. I got a team to come in here. I bought a piece of land. They built this house up. I said, I created this house. Oh, did you have any help? Did you, were there builders? Were there painters? Yeah, but I created it because I own it. That's what this feels like. This feels like they are just mooching off the success of the MCU. And I don't know, because we had heard rumors when that deal came back together that there was going to be some connection universe. There was going to be maybe some slight references, maybe a Tom Holland cameo. I didn't think it was going to be happening this quick, this soon, and this heavy. So, one, the credits I'm not a fan of because, like I said, who cares? It's just fun studio stuff. But still, it's just like, okay, you did do that. They're not lying, but there's a lot more. To me, it's kind of like it's tough because they did bring it to us, but they didn't create that package. So, one, I just feel it's a way of kind of hooking in people like my mom that might be like, oh, this is connected to those Spider-Man movies. And now, which we'll talk about, it's like technically it is, but not in the same sense of, this trailer starts with in association with Marvel Studios or Marvel. And then there's this between Marvel Studios. The mainstream don't know that. I always talk about Rogue One. Like, is that Rey? Is this a sequel? We went through that the whole time during Rogue One, right? So obviously, hopefully this wouldn't be a big deal. 2, they hit us with the Tobey Maguire PS4 screen grab suit in the background. So let's just start with the first thing, just the takeaway from what's actually what the behind the scenes stuff of that suit is. Okay, so it's a suit of Spider-Man, and it says murder. And yes, people have made the case it could be an Art Deco, people making designs, so fine, you can write off why it's Tobey's suit. But that's a clear line. That's if you have the inspiration pie chart, that's a clear line connecting them up. There's a picture of Spider-Man, so clearly he exists in this world, and it says murder. And when was the last time we saw Spider-Man in a movie being accused of murder? So clearly, you got the studio one, and then you got the Spider-Man murder painting, right? So you could go, okay, these are connected to the MCU, but those to me are slight references, right? Those are the most where it's like a wink and a tap of the hat, the tip of the hat being like, oh, we're kind of connected, but not really. So that's fine. And then the trailer, I knew something was coming because it ends, and I know we're going to get a tag, right? And I think most of us know that we've seen enough trailers. But I just felt that it was going to be something this spoiler. And we've heard rumors that J.K. Simmons is as Jonah. And that's what I honestly thought was going to be. And even then, it is a tip of the hat. But you could still kind of be like, oh, that's Tobey's J.K. Or that's just like he's playing J.K. all the time. There was nothing really a full-on connecting. I know J.K. was in those, but J.K.'s played the role before. So you could have some fun with your headcanon, right? All of a sudden, Michael Morbius. Oh, you're not a good guy. Hey, Doc, you're not a good guy after all. Whatever this line he says. Adrian Toomes, Vulture, pops up out of nowhere, as they say about Randy Orton's RKO. So, does this make Morbius in the MCU? It's a tricky situation because we've been talking about this all day in the group chat that, it doesn't really affect it, but technically characters that are in the MCU are over there. That would imply that they are living in the same world, and they can do the association with Marvel, and they can do the different universes. That doesn't feel like a different universe to me. I thought with different universes, and that's why it's been weird lately. Like some kind of C plus B tier scooper has been like, oh, they're gonna reference stuff from the MCU. I thought it was gonna be like Tom Holland will appear in a Morbius 2 or a Venom 2 in a cameo or even as a role. And maybe it'll just be like he's on vacation and he had a trip, or just they won't even mention it and he's just somewhere in San Francisco and this is happening and he's in the movie. I didn't think it was going to be a full-on tying it to Vulture or someone like that, because at the end of the day you can be like, oh, that's kind of the same thing. But Vulture has a history with Spider-Man, but then he has a history with the Avengers. He has a history with Iron Man, specifically Tony Stark. So you are getting that whole package. And that's the thing, because with Tom Holland, you could kind of, to me, write it off as, even then, it's like, I guess it feels weird with Tom Holland. I feel like it would be less connected to the MCU because it's just like, oh, it's another Spider-Man movie. But with Michael Keaton in it, it just feels like, oh, where's he from? All right, he's in Vulture. He's in that Spider-Man movie. That's with Iron Man. I know you would get that with Tom Holland, but there's just something about it where that's not ignoring a lot of stuff. That is, and obviously they probably won't mention those characters in association Marvel movies. But for me, you can play semantics all you want, and they can, and tons of fans are going to do that too. But they're in the same universe. They're more so in this universe than the Netflix Marvel were in this universe, in the MCU, because they made references, but not once did we see a character. Not once did we see Stanley in person. Not once did we see any of our characters interact with anyone from the films. So you could make that case that, oh, they're in an alternate universe. They're in a universe where, sure, there were how in the Avengers Endgame when they make these pocket universes where, oh, Loki got the stone, what happened when he escaped? You could say, oh, the Defenders are that universe where they were fighting crime, the attack happened, and they're off on their own. And you can go, okay, I can make that work. this is an exact, especially because Michael Keaton is wearing the exact same prison gear that he was wearing at the end of Homecoming, and he's standing outside a street by maybe like a shut down police van or something like that. So we have to assume that this is taking place in between Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man Homecoming. So I guess you could always write off MCU and be like, oh, it happened in the past and was nothing big. But clearly Vulture gets broken out, and I'm wondering, and let me know in the comments below what you think, who would break him out? Would that be Michael Morbius? Would that be a Venom? Would that be somebody else? Because people have been throwing this around all day, and I can't say they're wrong. I find it hard to believe. But if you got look what we got in play, you got Jared Leto's Morbius, you got Tom Hardy's Venom, you got Michael Keaton's Vulture from the MCU interacting with Morbius, you got Scorpion that was set up, you got Shocker if they want to bring back. That's five. And then the potential 6 is lots of people have been throwing on Jared Harris as Doc Ock, because apparently when he was cast, I missed this completely. So this is not like a, Joker I predicted to be this massive success. This is no Travis told you. Apparently when he got cast, I just heard he got cast. I didn't know that someone said it was like a top secret role or an unknown role. And then apparently right now he's just listed as mentor. So I'm not going to die on the sword and say, oh, he's Doc Ock, but I'm not going to tell people they're wrong by having that fan theory, because it all kind of lines up. The age, he's a great quality actor. It would be a right way of integrating him, but at the same time, this feels not exactly, but if it is Doc Ock, this feels like Amazing Spider-Man 2, where we're just doing a big setup and they just really want to do their Sinister Six movie. It's like the same how he never got to make it, but Bryan Singer kept talking about so much how he wanted to make his Dark Phoenix movie and he never got to make it. That's what this feels like for Sony. So I don't know. And that's why, to my point, I think that Michael Keaton, Batman and Joker, that Morbius and Vulture meeting, I think that's near the end of the movie or maybe an end credits, because I remember when they showed the Venom trailer and they showed that thing of like, he's like holding the guy in the gas station and he just has some dialogue about like, we are one and I'm not a hero, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that's the end of the movie. It was just the way it was phrased, like the way it was paired. And that to me is the end of the movie as well, where it seems like maybe Michael Morbius got healthy and maybe he's been framed for something, or it looks like he's a bad guy and that's why he's like, oh, not such a good guy anymore, eh? So, and that's why maybe the Sinister Six is a bunch of like misunderstood criminals, right? You look at Tom Hardy, you look at Michael Keaton, they're all people that are villains, but they kind of are anti-heroes, have done something well. Yeah, Vulture was a bad guy, but did he turn in Peter Parker? No, he didn't, and he was doing it for his family, right? So that's what it seems like we're getting this collection. You have a Scorpion there as like this, wild card of he is a bad guy. He might turn at any moment. So, and that's why I am worried that they're worried, because I just feel like that did not leak at all. No, I didn't see any Reddit posts. I didn't see any F-tier scoopers talking about Michael Keaton and Morbius. That was huge. That was an ace in a hole. Now, I get it, because you got to build anticipation for this movie. So did it get me anticipated more? 100%. Did it get me asking a bunch of questions that a bunch of other people in podcasts and Twitter and YouTube are asking? 100%. So in that way, it does do good. I just worry that they're going to show a lot of these big surprises to get people in the theaters, because the movie it's not going to be that good. I want any movie to be good. Same like Eternals is coming out this year. I've never read Eternals. I don't give a flying F about the Eternals. I don't care at all. But I want to be great. I want to go in there and be like, you know what? This is my all-time favorite movie. Screw The Dark Knight. I love the Eternals. I want that from every movie. So I'm not wanting this to fail. I'm not the biggest fan of this universe so far and how it's been set up. I still am not a fan of Venom being off on his own and Morbius being off on his own. I wish these were Spider-Man stories, because if we keep doing this, eventually we're going to lose some of these characters to Spider-Man. And even if they do a Spider-Man versus Venom or Spider-Man versus Morbius, it doesn't feel the route I would like to go, and that's a personal thing. You got to base on the route they're going. But so far with Venom, I was not a fan of that route, and I'm hoping I'm a fan of this route. But I think with Morbius too, it has a lot to do with the future. If it does well critically and financially with the MCU, will they intersplice more? Because I'm kind of with me and Taylor, I think, talked about this when Spider-Man came back. I am a bit on his bandwagon at the beginning, but more so now when he was talking about this Spider-Man deal that they have the MCU. One more solo and then another crossover. Is this the way just to wrap things up? And I think it could be. because at the end of the day, people can make those jumps. I know some people, and even Dylan was saying that in our chat, like, oh, it's not a big deal, like whatever, people don't care. But that's the thing about the MCU. What they've built, what they've done is unprecedented, right? You got these movies that are all box office hits. Some of them are the biggest movies of all time, and they're all critically reviewed. Whatever you think about a fan, whatever you think about critics, it doesn't matter. Critically reviewed is a big thing. Look at the Oscars. You may not care. You may, like Eternals, give a flying fuck about them, but many people do, and many people do in Hollywood. And I don't think Feige wants anything near his kind of like perfect record, perfect team. And at least if it's going to be bad, I feel he wants him and his team to be responsible for it so they can fix it. Like a Thor Dark World, That's a movie that still did well critically and financially, but they kind of retroactively made it feel a bit more important. They can't really do that with Morbius or Venom, right? And I don't think they want to. They have so many other characters. I think they want to, but not on these terms. So I am leaning more towards, I sound like an auditor. I am leaning more towards that this 2 deal will be it, but you never know. Maybe they get along. Maybe Morbius is considered the best comic book movie in the world, and people are like, I really want to see Tom Holland's, Spider-Man with Morbius. I don't think that's a claim. I don't know if this movie's going to do well. I don't think so, but I think this trailer helps, and I think they're in the right steps. So I don't know. It's a very, very interesting time to be a comic book fan. And it's fun, right? Because I think this year's a bit more quieter for the MCU. So technically, this is an MCU movie. And it's fun to speculate and get this stuff. Because that's the thing when Marvel announces their whole slate. I love the speculation leading up to it. But then I also love when we get that full, like a comic. Oh, we know everything. But then, for a while, we know everything to 2021. We get little announcements here and there, but we know for the most part what's coming. So I do like when we're kind of thrown up in the air, like, oh, here's this Morbius Jared Leto curveball. Okay, let's see where this lies. It's the same thing like New Mutants. I imagine that that's going to be the end of the Fox franchise and be done forever. But what happens if it's huge? What happens if it's $1.5 billion movie? I bet it won't be, but I didn't think Joker would. I thought Joker would do well. I didn't think it'd be $1 billion movie. And what happens if people just love it? And what happens, like, this could be a way to enter? You never know. Things change on the fly. And the reason I say that is just because look at the Spider-Man situation both times. The first time, I would have never believed it happened because studios working together like that was very rare back in the day. And then the second time with the Fallen and a new deal, anything can happen. As long as it's making money and as long as people are happy, all that tide rises all boats. The second people start getting pissy at each other and movies start doing bad and they start losing money, there's finger pointing, that's when you don't want that. Look at DC, right? They're on track now. They're doing great. But in that era of Man of Steel to Justice League, and I'm not going to put the blame on anybody, lots of disagreement, lots of problems with, not even with the movies, I'm saying, just with creative in general, right? Studio heads. So when you got a winning team, things go well. So I'm pulling for it. I was intrigued by the trailer. I'm intrigued by these questions and answers. Let me know what you think down below, whether Twitter, Facebook, hit us up, or YouTube. I'd like to hear what are your theories, if you've got any out there, about how does Michael Keaton get broken out of jail? How, why, what's the deal? What's his connection? Because clearly he knows Michael Morbius, so what's the deal there? So yeah, it's a strange time we live in, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. Now we're going to talk about, speaking of Joker, we're going to talk about another Joker that was cleaned up the awards. So I don't know where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with another drink of water. So, this is what you can do. If you don't care about the Oscars, I think you should stay tuned for the first 5-10 minutes of this conversation, because I think it'll be good about Joker. The rest, I'm going to break down again predictions, minor predictions. Me and Liam are going to do a full-on predictions cast the week of the Oscars. So these are my initial thoughts. These are not the points, so no one hold it against me. I've beaten Liam every year. I'm going to do it again, I'm going to start with Joker. Joker nominated for 11 Academy Awards. So, okay, let's just do it. I'm going to gloat a little bit. Hashtag Travis told you so. You can go back all the way to not the trailer, not to Joaquin Phoenix, to when this movie was announced. When this movie was announced with Martin Scorsese still producing it and Leo potentially starring, even though they said that was never the plan, blah, 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 whatever. I always thought it was a good idea. And Dylan did as well, too, because he was just wanting DC to do other stuff. So I got to give him credit. But I think I was always on the bandwagon that this was going to be a big thing, but this was going to be a huge thing for comics. And it already has been, because I always thought if this movie does well and hits, people are going to look at this and be like, this is how comic movies should be. And not all of them, but we can take a lot of risks. And look at what happened. Most nominated movie of the year. first ever comic movie to get a Best Director nomination, first ever DC movie to get a Best Picture, and just the amount of awards that it did. The fact that it's beating all the other movies says something. And this is where I'll go on my first little rant. I'll clear the throat for this one. For film Twitter and people that hate this movie, man, it's been so fun to watch everyone lose their shit. And because I'm somebody that always values the Oscars, it's very flawed. Every award show is flawed. Look at our Golden Geeks. It's flawed every year. So that's why for me, it's not the be-all, end-all. And I think some people, of course, when stuff comes out, and we'll get into it, like when Lupita Nyong'o's not nominated for us, I'm like, travesty. Like, that's bullshit. That shouldn't be. And there's lots of problems, especially with the diversity. I agree with some of the points that there are problems with it. So it's not the be-all, end-all. It's just like a sports fantasy league for movies, right? What do these people that are in the industry pick and think are the best? And there are behind-the-scenes problems with some of those, but at the end of the day, they are still prestigious because they're being recognized by their colleagues, and these colleagues make million to billion-dollar movies and franchises and success, and they do all these awards and screenplays, and they run the industry that they work in. So that's why it is an important thing. That's why other shows are. Critics' Choice Awards are important. People's Choice are kind of important, even though you get a bunch of bots to like spam something. At the end of the day, it all comes down to opinion and choice. And that's why it's so funny that people are so mad. They're so mad about Joker. They're so mad about Todd Phillips. It's great. It's fantastic as somebody that loves the movie. And I think this is the thing. We saw this with Green Book last year. And I get it. I don't think Green Book's a great movie all the time. But we saw that with Bohemian Rhapsody as well. I was on that bandwagon. I'm like, I don't get why it's getting all these nominations. But you know what? You air grievances and then you kind of go away. People that just are always just continuing shitting, especially today, like, oh, Todd Phillips robbed Greta Gerwig. No, Todd Phillips didn't do anything. He went, he did his job, he made a $1 billion movie. Of course, the Batman license helped it, but you need to. Justice League didn't even make $1 billion. BVS didn't make $1 billion. Wonder Woman didn't make $1 billion. This little fucking indie Joker movie made $1 billion. That shows something, and this is a movie that it is touching other people's lives. And I know always it's the white dude didn't sell, right? Yeah, just like everyone said this movie was going to cause a bunch of violence. And oh, what happened? Nothing. Nothing at all. It's just people stirring up controversy, and it's people stirring up that they hate that something they don't like is doing well. And that's what some people have a tough pill swallowing, you know? I'm somebody that have not liked many movies we talked about, but if it does well, I'll clap and applaud. Maybe unless you're Transformers, but I'm never going and trashing and just going on a bender talking about how bad this movie is and blah, blah. And I think the other thing that's proved is, so if you don't, this is just for, I can't remember who said it to me, so I apologize. But one of our fans was like, maybe it was one of our reviews that I like this podcast because it keeps me in the know because I'm not really online. I'm just going to watch the movie. So I like to hear some of the stuff that's going on. I'm somebody that I guess would be in the film Twitter sphere. I am a very minuscule in the 1% of like lowest on the totem pole. But because I run the podcast with Facebook and Twitter, and you got to promote and make connections and you got to stay in the loop. And I just like doing that. I like discussing film. You see a lot of things. And it's funny for film Twitter to talk about how the Academy, oh, they're stuck in this bubble and they see the same movies and there's no variety and they just see these movies that just came out in November and these are the only movies they love. They can't break out of their bubble. It's such a kettle calling the pot black situation because they do the same thing. Well, they will take down, lots of them take down Joker and Joker and Joker. And then it gets nominated, and they got to take it down no more and more. And they can praise just the same three movies over and over. And that's great, and that's no problem. But I'm just saying, and Academy is in a bubble, and I think they shouldn't be. I think they got to get more variety out there. I think the lack of horror in these in these categories is ridiculous. The lack of diversity is because I feel like there is a lot of like we'll get in that. Let's say diversity, but there's many things they do need to change, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say the Oscars, yeah. But I'm going to sit here and be that clearly. And this is what film Twitter, I thought what I understood last time with Green Book, but maybe I'll understand with Joker. The people in that industry, they don't fucking care. They don't care what we tweet. They don't care whatever movies you run. They don't care if you run the smallest website in the world. They don't care if you run Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't really matter. Because Bohemian, I think it eventually got fresh, but that was a raw movie going into nominations. They don't care. And they don't care about these narratives, and they don't care about this Joker and Todd Phillips is a talentless director who just ripped off Martin Scorsese. They care about what they watch. And you can say, hey, I don't like what they watch, but the fact that some people just feel so earned or so entitled to be like, oh my God, Joker, like it took all these spots away, and how dare they nominate this, and how the quality of this movie. Obviously, people liked it, and a lot of people that are in that industry liked it. And of course, there needs to be more diversity, and of course, there needs to be people added in. But at the end of the day, you got to pick your battles, right? Because it's very tough, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But the Joker thing is, I don't know. You just got to suck it. You got to suck it and suck it up, and you go, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And if you hate it, if you're going to make such a stink about it, if you're going to go, oh, the Academy Awards are broken, you can be like me and go, they are broken. I'm disappointed with some stuff that happened, but let's go for a change. But to be pointing the finger at one film like that ruined it, that's not the case, you know? And that's the same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody. I was not a big fan last year, but clearly it touched a nerve with a lot of voters. And that's the way with Joker. And that's the thing where people are, film Twitter especially, when they don't get what they want, they're very, very mad, and they're very, very butthurt. And it was the very same way about when Joker was there was this narrative, and a lot of the media, and a lot of people that I followed too, I had to unfollow, or I lost a little respect for, was just, it felt that they were, I'm not going to say wanting something to happen, but wanting to be proven right. And it's just, they put the cart before the horse, that this was going to do this and this was going to do this. And same thing with Todd Phillips. They make it sound like, and I get it, he made some bad comments, but they just make it sound like he had no talent whatsoever. And that's the really frustrating thing for me, is just because you can say this, okay, rip off of, even Liam was giving this podcast, say, it's just even the first scene's a rip off of Taxi Driver. It's like, okay, so Travis Bickle goes to his work. The first scene of Joker is him at his work. He gets beat up. He talks to some clowns and then goes to work. So in these two movies, because in the first 10 minutes they go to their place of work, it's a ripoff. People are so hyperbolic. And Liam is 100%. I can't wait to talk about our Oscar predictions when they don't like something. And that's why I always try to employ on this podcast since we started, is finding the middle ground things, right? Finding those 6 to 7s, or finding the stuff that's made good. Because at the end of the day, cinematography, costume, what was it, score, everything like that, down to the directing of the acting, screenplay, whether you like it or not. And some people don't, but then what I'm saying is, if you're somebody that thinks everything about Joker is terrible, that's fine. My biggest problem is the people that praise all these things, but then go, but Todd Phillips, he has no talent. How's he getting nominated? Because clearly he did a lot to get nominated. I'm not saying Greta didn't deserve it. I'm not saying Lulu Wang didn't deserve it. I'm not saying Taika Waititi didn't deserve it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he's still one of those people that are justified to be in those 5 slots, in my opinion. And that's the thing. It's my opinion. If you disagree, that's great. But to say he did nothing, to say he's like what he's being painted as, it's just because he made some comments that maybe weren't the smartest and maybe made a lot of people mad. But at the end of the day, he has an opinion. You can not like it, but he didn't murder anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. There's so much worse things going on in the world, especially right now. People paint out to be Todd Phillips, and that's film Twitter, and that's where it's very hyperbolic, and that's where so many people too, when they talk about critics or whatnot. No, you just gotta find the ones that are, to me, sane, and look at things leveled and speak elegantly, and don't become hyperbolic, because there's many of them out there, and it sucks, especially because there's some that I listen to. So I try not to be, and especially I feel like sometimes on this podcast I might be hyperbolic, like, this is the worst, but I feel like we're always doing it in a fun, comedic, jumpy way. So I never want to make it feel like I hate you for doing that. Look at Taylor. Taylor loves so many films that I hate, but he's one of my best friends, and that's life, ladies and gentlemen. And that's the thing with people, what I'm saying, praising all these things. Even look at someone like getting Joaquin Phoenix in the role. He had to talk Phoenix into it. He had to say, this is what I want to do. This is how we're going to do it. I want you on this journey with me. We wrote it for you. You're my first draft pick. I'm hoping that's true and that fits the narrative. But if not, he's still to talk him into it. All these things, the way Joker went the way it was, of course, was not just Todd Phillips alone, but it was his direction. I remember this big spat where John Campea, if you know John Campea is a podcaster, kind of said something, and he even put his foot in his mouth, where it was about Justice League and the visual effects, and someone said, the director can't let this happen. And he went, no, you can't blame this on the director. And by the way, I respect John Campea very much. He's one of the reasons I do this podcast. I love everything he's been doing with the Collider fall and everything like that. So it's not shot him. It's just he said, no, that's on the visual effects team, what was going on with Steppenwolf. And then James Gunn, Seth Rogen, a bunch of other directors came and said, no, visual effects, all these little details, like everything comes down to the director. Of course, you delegate, but the final call, that stuff's on the director, and you can't blame the other teams. So it's so funny. People want to remember, and I'm not saying they're going to remember the situation, but they want to remember things that fit their narrative. And to me, many directors talk about how if there's mistakes, if there's good things, if there's bad things, it's on them. So think about that. If you absolutely hate Joker, then fine. Then you can go, you know what, Todd Phillips, I don't like you as director, and that's great. And I have that for many people too. But the other thing is just kind of get over it. And I'm saying that because I like it, but there's also a sense of the same way I felt about Green Book. I liked Green Book, but eventually it's just like, oh my God, like we're just going to keep talking and tweeting about this over and over. It's like, we get it. You don't like it. It's just, so let's go over the actual nomination. So that's my little rant on Joker. And, sorry, Film Twitter, you lost this one. 11 nominations, most nominated movie of the year. We're going to lunch a bunch of Oscars. And I'm very happy because Oscars are flawed, but I like Oscar time. I love Joker. It's my favorite movie that year. So, yeah, it's very exciting. So let's break this down. I don't think I'll have too much to say on them because we're going to do a big in-depth conversation predictions cast, but just quickly to cover them for tonight. Best Picture, Ford v. Ferrari. The Irish, that, ladies and gentlemen, is signed. Travis, you must drink. What was your favorite movie of 2019? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you agree with me on Joker. If you hate me, then, you're just another one added to the list. Lots of people, those civil servant podcast guys call me out for those prequel lightsaber fights, the dancing, I'm going to guess on there. I'm going to school them because, they lied a little bit. Best Picture, back to it. Ford v. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Woman, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. No surprise there. We've seen these all kind of sprinkle around, talked about. We got the 9 instead of the 10, so nothing really surprising. I guess I'll spoil this now. I know some people were pulling for Knives Out. Not really me. I got a screenplay, and I think that's where it's deserving. I think it's written very well. I think for me, it was two things. One, overhyped, and the way it was described when people were just like, it's such a revolution on whodunit. It's a good whodunit, and I wish people just told me that because I was like, oh, this is really going to take me for a surprise. The two twists that are like the massive twists, they laid out pretty easily, and it's just like, all right, and it's exactly how I always say in a murder mystery that you might not know exactly how you get there and do the little details, but when I can kind of watch and go, oh, I know what's happening, it didn't make it bad, but it was the praise, I think, that got me. And even then, I liked it, but I also think, we'll talk about this another time, but Rian Johnson's humor for me is, it's very hit or miss, and missed a lot in that movie. So that's where I know some people are mad about that, but I thought screenplay, that's perfect because he writes some fun characters, some fun dialogue. So there you go. Hit a 2 for that. I'm going to talk about later. Best director, Martin Scorsese, Todd Phillips for Joker, Sam Mendes, 1917, Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. This one's up in the air. I've gone back and forth. I don't know what I'm going to do predictions tonight. It's obviously Tarantino. Well, I can't say obviously. Scorsese's lost. I think he's lost a lot of momentum. I don't think it's going to happen. Phillips, Tarantino, and Bong would be the front runners right now. Not Phillips. I'll take that back. I meant to say Mendes. Mendes has been climbing steadily. He's been getting a lot of traction, so maybe that'll help. But I really think it's between QT and Bong, and that's a knockout right there. That could go anyway. Best original screenplay, we just talked about that. Knives Out, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. I think they could go a few places. As far as that, I think it'd be Knives Out, Marriage Story, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for different reasons. Again, we'll do a big predictions. Me and Liam do this every year. We do a competition. We get into every category in depth. He watches all these movies. He's a big fan of it. So that is what we'll be doing. Adapted screenplay, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Woman, and The Two Popes. I feel like that's where they'll honor Irishman. That's going to be my early thoughts. Best actress in a leading role. And I guess this is where we can talk about this fun topic. Cynthia Erivo, who's great in Harriet. Scarlett Johansson, Marriage Story. Saoirse Ronan for Little Woman. Charlize Theron, Bombshell. And Renee Zellweger as Judy. Or in Judy, as Judy. So then the diversity thing came up, right? So when we started this podcast a few years ago, there was the Oscar So White. And I think people kind of been flowing that around again now. Not so much because there's, a person of color in the leading male and female, but none in supporting, no female directors in directing category or people of color. So this becomes and this came a conversation last year too, and that I felt was a little unwarranted, but I get it, that some people thought, is Black Panther getting the nomination because it's features a primarily black cast, and it's to just go, this is our diversity vote. And for me, I always put it in the Avatar route, where it's because it had a huge social and pop culture impact, and it was also just a massive hit and changed the way in industry. I think it was what they said, about 95% of the cast and crew were black or African American. So that obviously is a huge momentum and a huge touchstone for the future of Hollywood, hopefully, right? Obviously, maybe people make the case that's not going that way, but it was a big moment for that community to have. And I remember being in the theater for that, and I remember talking to Kyle about that. It was huge. So that's why for me, it wasn't just a diverse, and I had the movie in my top 10, so maybe I'm biased, but I thought it was a great movie, great comic movie. I loved what it did for the themes. But then that conversation happened, right? And then this conversation happened again too, where, like I said, only two people of color in acting and actress. So for diversity, you want it, but for the best way, and this is coming from a straight white male, so you can take it and say whatever you want, and maybe you don't care at all. But I'm going to try and say this in the most delicate way possible. You want to nominate the best people, regardless of their color, and of course, that's many times not happened. So that's why in the past you could go, oh, even if people of color had lesser roles, like not as good performances, we should give them their upcomings, and because we passed over a lot of great performances of people in the past. So I think at the end of the day, I don't want diversity or Oscar white just to get anybody of color. Doesn't matter what your color, to be in there just for the sake of being in there. I want people to earn it. Now, that's the thing where I feel like a lot of people did earn it yet this year, and that's where it sucks, and that's where it feels like old-timey. That's where, and I didn't feel that the last time too, but even Oscar so white the first time, I felt there's definitely some nominations. This year especially, there was a lot of people. Eddie Murphy did not get nominated, especially, take out Jonathan Pryce for Two Popes. They fucking love. And this is why, this is where I'll be those people, but I'm not tweeting it. I'm not getting that mad. It's just movies. They love putting in, an old white guy performance, don't they? And it's good for Jonathan Pryce. He's got it. And sure, he deserves it, but it's a fine performance. I was not the biggest fan of Two Popes, so that's why I'm not mentioning it. It was fine. It's not a bad movie. It's just nothing I'm going to watch again. I just think that you got Eddie Murphy in there with this returning of career performance, did very well. And then you got someone like Lupita Nyong'o, Best Actress. And that's the thing where there are many routes that could have been taken. What was in supporting? Who didn't? J-Lo didn't get it. Who was like a front runner? You could even make a case for me. I cannot remember her name for the life of me, but the girl in Dolomite, who was Eddie Murphy's kind of co-lead, she was the main female. She was phenomenal. I'm sorry I don't remember her name, but there was many performances that it's one where it's like, I can swallow the pill, and this is where it all comes down to opinion. 100%, I get that, but this is where I'm saying for me, this was not people are saying we need diversity just for the sake of diversity. This was a warranted of, in my opinion, these performances deserved it, and it's not even a way of there is a black actor and a white actor, and I view the performances as just as great as each other, and one got over the top. This for me, there's many in here where I scratch my head and I go, this one over Lupita Nyong'o, who is, to me, gave one of the best performances of the decade, doing two great roles in that movie. It's very frustrating, especially the same thing with Eddie Murphy, and lots of people made that case for Greta Gerwig. I've not seen Little Woman, but I could back that. I expected her to get it, to be honest. I thought that fifth slot was going to be her or Taika. I really did, especially because they got some love earlier in screenplay and Scarlett in supporting, which great for her. She's never gone nominated before, and she gets it twice, and for her best roles of her career, because Marriage Story is phenomenal. But Jojo Rabbit, I can't wait to talk about this in long form with Liam. That movie is so good. I loved it so much. I thought it was going to be so overhyped. And I don't want to get tears. That's such a heartbreaking role, the way they use that. So I loved her getting that recognition. But there's just so many this year that I didn't understand. And that's also what I was saying with Greta Gerwig is I loved Lady Bird, so I can see people making that case. It's not one that was like, oh, Greta Gerwig. So it is... It is frustrating, and I understand, but this is all I want to say to people, and I got to understand. And, of course, there is a big impact. It has to change, but at the end of the day, go out there and keep making us. Go out there making Black Panther. People that, this has come from a straight white dude, but if you are someone that looks at those nominations and you're someone like me that would like to write or direct or act or something like that in the future, and you go, oh, this fucking sucks. It does, and it really does, and it hurts. I could imagine to see that. But you know what? You just got to take it and kind of spin their face and go, whatever. Don't. Obviously, if you want to do this as a career, go out there and change the culture. Do everything you can. But at the end of the day, just go make some fucking good movies. And it doesn't matter who wins that female Oscar because everyone's going to be talking about Lupita. So it doesn't matter what awards they hand out. Just go and be the best and people are going to talk about you, right? So that's the only silver lining put in a shitty situation. I'm with many people because there's many performances that were really passed over this year, and it sucks. And those were just a few off the top of my head. There was a lot this morning that I was like, oh, this one didn't, and this one didn't. So, yeah, it happens, right? And that's where it's like, I love the Oscars, but you can't always put too much stock on them. You just gotta love what you love. Best actress supporting role: Kathy Bates, Laura Dern, Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, Margot Robbie. Bombshell, Little Woman, Jojo Rabbit, Marriage Story, Richard Jewell. I did that in a weird way. Supporting role, Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day. Anthony Hopkins, Two Popes, again, Irishman, for Joe Pesci and Al Pacino and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt, Laura Dern, and Joaquin Phoenix are fucking locked. I will get in the predictions, but Laura Dern has just been running away with it. Brad Pitt is definitely a career sort of, thank you for being Brad Pitt sort of award. You're cool, you're great. Because I don't think, I'll say something controversial. I think there's lots of performances I would have put in over Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it's a great performance, but William Dafoe is Grand Canyons better than him. And I think Brad Pitt should have won an Oscar a few times already. So that's not saying anything against him. It's just sometimes it's not his scent of a woman. And it's not like that. But this is a role where I feel like it's more about his career and more, hey, we got to give him this award because you never know when it's going to happen again. And with Joaquin, it's just his fucking year. It was the same vibe with Leo and the Revenant where everybody was just praising him. And I rolled my eyes, but I just mean I don't mean it in a bad way because he was great in that. I think he should have won for Django or Wolf of Wall Street, but still just everybody is just hugging him, talking about his great performance and he deserves it and blah, 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 all these things. And that's great for him, but you just knew it's his fucking year with a bullet. And that's the same way you see all these screenshots of actors hugging him and talking about how great Joaquin is. And when they're on stage, Cate Blanchett at Golden Globes, it's his year. There's no doubt in my mind that he walks away with this Academy Award. And I am happy because it's one of the best performances of the decade. Best Animated Feature, How to Train Your Dragon 3, I Lost My Body. Klaus, Missing Link, and Toy Story 4. No Frozen 2, which, that's a shame. But you know what? They got to put the cart behind some horse, right? And I think the horse behind some cart. No, I had it right the first time. And it should be Toy Story 4. But, I like Frozen 2 better than Frozen 1. Sue me. I think the rest of these I will honestly skip until predictions because they're just going to be reading categories. You can find them. I don't think there's anything I want to shout out other than Ad Astra. I'm happy I got some recognition sound mixing. Should have got visual effects, but that's a whole nother ball game. And then Best Original Score, I was pretty disappointed. I was happy and disappointed at the same time. John Williams got in there, so that was great because I do think he deserves a nomination, and I think it is his best work in the trilogy. But Alan Silvestri on there for Endgame. I get it. It's a comic book movie and it's Endgame. Endgame, which only got only one nomination, which I said that would happen on the podcast. The second Joker hit, it was not going to be that case because it's a little controversial, but there was an expression, a terrible expression back in the day in wrestling where it says, we got one, or it's like, you got one for the territory. And that meant that you had one black wrestler on the roster. And not just in any form of expression, just meaning like we have our one. Meaning we're not going to get any more. We don't need more. We've checked that box off of, we got a quota of, we got a black on the roster. Good. Leave it at that. This is nowhere near that situation. But in comic books, and especially I think with some of these older Academy Awards and the hoity-toity ones, comic book movies, Martin Scorsese, for example, which I love him, but hoity-toity, just, kind of out of touch in my opinion. He has an opinion, but it's a strange one. I go all day where I go, we shouldn't be talking about him every single day, but I can look him in the face, which I never will because he has no reason to talk to me, but I'd say, you're wrong on this one, but that's fine. But there's many people that feel that way like him, and I feel like right now comic books have the only one mentality, and Joker is the only one, and that's when that blew up. I'm like, there goes the chances of Downey, there goes the chance of the Best Picture, everything jumped out the window, so that's a shame, and it's a real big shame for score, because Alan Silvestri, phenomenal work. Portals alone, Tony's kind of theme throughout the movie, so much I could talk about in that movie. I think it's just as deserving as Joker or Skywalker. I would put it above Skywalker if I had to choose, but it's not John Williams, right? So I think that was very unfortunate. That was a big snub in my opinion, but what you gotta do, right? I guess it's not gonna happen. So yeah, that's everything I think for tonight that I'm gonna be talking about. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was nice to get back on here and take a look. It was nice to get back on here and talk to all you one-on-one because I'm definitely going to be doing stuff with Geekverse, definitely going to be doing some Dynamic Duo stuff with Liam Khan next few months, but especially with some certain changes that might be happening in my life, I might be doing a bit more solo casts. I used to do a bunch of them back in the day, and I hope you can oblige, and I hope you like them, and, please correlate, talk to me. I can't do these live sometimes, but because I have the best Wi-Fi past that door, and the second that door closes, it's gone. It's gone. So one day I'm going to try and fix that and maybe do live conversations. That'd be great because I used to do that. But Until then, please, whether it's hit me up on Twitter, my link is down below, whether it's on Facebook with Geek First or the Geek First Twitter, everything. I love talking to fans. We love conversating. We love everything like that. So thank you very much for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, when you ever hear from me next, it won't be boring.